Welcome back to Fargonauts, everybody.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
We have
There's a
Wilson
creepy
here.
door sound in the back.
That was my chair. We have Eric and Wilson. We're continuing our awesome movie thread experiment here. Broadshows has the next movie we're going to be watching. Broadshow, if you want to introduce it.
Yes. Well, this is a sneaky way I get to insert other interests of mine into this as well. So the movie we're gonna watch today is what year is it? Let me check here. You see, I was prepared with part of what I was going to talk about, but not the very easy thing. So this is a movie from 2001.
Cool.
Okay.
Defined as a black comedy, directed by Terry Zwigoff. And it stars Thora Birch, the young Scarlett Johansson, and our boy Steve Buscemi.
Any hints, Wilson?
Do you have any idea yet? I don't know if
No,
you've
I
seen
don't. I don't think I've seen this, but
it is a movie I've seen. Maybe I can't remember the last time I've seen this movie, to be honest. I don't know if I've ever seen it completely all the way through. I think I have. I've seen it on TV a couple times. But the reason why things in the last movie triggered the idea of this movie in my head.
Remind us the last movie.
The last movie was fucking shit. I don't remember the name of it. With our boy Andrew Garfield.
Under the Silver Lake.
Under the Silver Lake. Yes. This is a movie called Ghost World. And it is based off of a comic. It by a writer artist named Dan Clowes. He is part of a generation of dudes, kind of a classic generation of comic dudes from like the late 80s, early 90s. They're kind of the first wave of big, like the publisher Fantagraphics. They're this alternative comics, I guess, is what you would call it. Think of it's kind of like alternative music or like indie movies or stuff like that, where it's like dudes who are like truly nerds about the stuff, like not like me, where it's like I'm really nerdy about like mainstream comics and shit, and I know a lot about that stuff. Like these are dudes that like, sure, they came in on that and they discovered their Jack Kirby's and Steve Ditko's, but then they started, getting into the underground stuff with like Robert Crumb, and then like into like old comic strips, like like fucking Lil Nemo and Slumberland, like fucking Milt Caniff adventure stories, and like Terry and the Pirates, shit like that. Like, and then like they're also like, hey, I really like this, this Carl Barks Donald Duck stories, and like these are like nerds of nerds. Like these dudes, like discovered comics and then like went whole hog, and like their stuff is like very clean looking. Like this whole generation is like the Hernandez brothers who did Love and Rockets. There's Dan Clowes. There's Charles Burns with this book called The Black Hole. That's really good. Chris Ware was just like kind of a maniac, like super, super clean. He does a lot of New Yorker shit now. Like that's how kind of transcendent that dude became. But it's this whole generation of dudes. And like Dan Clowes, his thing was it was a one-man anthology called 8 Ball. And starting in issue 11, so it'd be like they'd have like an ongoing story, and then you'd have a bunch of like different little short stories and stuff like that. Starting on issue, I think 11 is when he starts serializing Ghost World. Well, Tyler, you might not be able to look at it right now, but Wilson, you can. Post Picture Command Center there. That's the cover of Okay, so that's the cover of the first issue that Ghost World's in. It's the top right corner is a thing from Ghost World.
Okay.
Here's I'll show you a little. See here.
I'll try to add these into the actual.
Okay. It's a fun little
video
page, little title page from one of the issues.
Cool. I like this. Yeah, the style's very cool.
Yeah, there's another one there. But so Thora Birch plays the character with glasses, and his name's Enid Coleslaw, and fucking Scarlett Johansson plays Rebecca, who's the other girl. But it ran from issue 11 to 18, which were like the rest of the normal. Here's another cover with Enid on it.
I love
that. That would run. He would through issue 18. That was the last one of like the normal style. Then his last, I think, 3 or 4 issues were mainly focused on single story things. Like 3 of the issues were focused on a character named David Boring. One of them was on this. This one's it's called Ice Haven, which was like a bunch of. There's this kid gets kidnapped. Who's this little kid in the bottom left, little shitty looking kid in the bottom left corner of that image.
Okay.
And the whole and this story takes place in this town, and so like all these different strips are about different people and whatever throughout this town. Everybody on this cover, and the whole like kidnapping thing kind of happens in the background. And then just really, this was one Death Ray, which was really cool. I think this was the last issue of 8-Ball. But yeah, so he's a very lauded in the comic world, of the super duper nerds and like hipsters of comic books. And he actually, I think, wrote or helped write the script for the movie too, for Ghost World. Let's see. Yeah, they both Zwigoff and Clowes wrote the script together. And I think they worked together again to adapt another one of his stories. It was just a 4-pager, but in one of the issues of 8-Ball, but they made it in a movie. This one here, Art School Confidential.
Yes, I remember that. They made that into a movie too, didn't they?
Yep. That was both Zwigoff and him again.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
This was a 4-pager that was in 8-Ball as well. So he, it's interesting. Dude's got a very specific style, which is always really fun. 8-Ball's got some weird shit. I reread Ghost World like yesterday, actually.
Cool.
And the best way I could describe it, you can kind of see it in the stuff that I posted in here, but it's teenage girls in the mid to late 90s, and they're just alternative girls kind of. They're just like talking shit about everything.
They don't fit in to the norm.
Yeah,
normies.
and it's basically like you start at a point in their friendship that kind of eventually leads to them kind of drifting apart. It's really a really cool story. But yeah, it's all very interesting, all very different types of stories. I read one called after rereading this, then I read a couple others. I read a Velvet Glove cast in iron. That was a really fucking weird one.
That sounds cool.
That was the one serialized before Ghost World in issues 1 through 10 of 8-Ball. But yeah, that one's weird as fuck. It's got I can't even explain it. It's super surreal. But
well, I'm getting the vibes from the previous movie we watched. Then, if it's surreal, kind of
surreal. And obviously the main connector here was comics, right?
Oh yeah.
But
easy enough to pick out of that movie.
Yeah, but the other one, that it was less easy to pick up. There was a girl in one of the scenes, and she had like a pink wig on. That was kind of a bob cut almost, and she had like thick-rimmed glasses on.
Yes.
And immediately that triggered, like in combination with the comics in there, it triggered the thought of Enid, the character of Enid. So I was like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. So yeah, this is again, this isn't a movie I've watched a lot, but it's definitely like, let's throw this in there because it's kind of hilarious. But yeah, it's not something I've watched a lot, but it's a cool thing, and I appreciate the comic side of it that I'm a little bit more, not intimately familiar with, but much more familiar with. Yeah, it should be interesting. It should be fun. I'm excited to watch it again because, again, I've probably seen it all the way through maybe once or twice, and mainly when I've seen it, it's just been on TV. So
same here. I do own it on Criterion.
Yep.
It's a very awesome one to have because it has basically those references that you're showing. I've seen a few of those panels that you posted in the little inserts on Criterion because they have the same artist basically do the cover art for the
Clowes,
DVD.
Yeah. This one makes me laugh. This is just one more.
Yep, I've seen that one.
Yep. The another one that he serialized in there it's Dan Pussy, who's like he's a comics guy, and it's just like a total satire and kind of send up of certain types of comics dudes, and it's pretty hilarious. But yeah, just look at that guy's face and it makes me happy.
It's like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so should we get into the movie?
Yes.
All right,
do it.
We'll be back after we watch the film.
And now, our feature presentation.
Tone deliver Thorman.
Here we go, boys.
Yep. Bob Balaban. Venus de Milo Thomas.
Ebony, Venus de Milo Thomas.
Chachi.
Alexander Ford.
Chachi Fitbit. JJ Bad Boy
La
Cho.
Vox.
JJ Bad Boy Jones. Is that Steve Brule's like alter ego?
Ketchup. Tony.
Debbie Derry Berry. Debbie Derry Berry.
जान पहचान हो जीना आसान हो जान पहचान हो
Tad Driscoll.
जीना आसान हो दिल को चुराने वालों आंख न चुराओ नाम तो बताओ जान
William Paul
पहचान
Clark.
हो,
That's 3 first names. Do not
जीना
trust that
आसान
man.
हो,
Do not.
जान पहचान हो जीना आसान हो
Nino Newberg.
चुराने वालों आंख न
Boy,
चुराओ नाम तो बताओ
Ronit
Felipe
Ravage
Reinheimer.
Boss.
जान पहचान हो
Ronit Ravage Boss.
जीना आसान हो
James Babineau.
Okay.
Edmundo Sepulveda. Wow.
Susie Balaban. Little Balaban in there.
Axelrod.
Sorry, so Cookie Lopez did.
Holiday Landa.
Ron Bolanowski.
Tim Abitoy. Ornstein.
Malene von Brentano.
Jim Fleckenstein, dude. Out of anger.
Maybe
I
Reynolds.
yelled at her out of anger. John Frank Canonica.
जान पहचान हो जीना आसान
Roy Yokelson, dude.
जान पहचान हो जीना आसान हो
The graduation rap, of course, was written by Dan Clowes.
आँख न चुराओ नाम तो बताओ जान पहचान हो
Dick Walter, dude.
जीना आसान हो
Kitay Zwigoff. Xenophobia music.
Devil got my woman.
Picking Cotton Blues, also written by Kitay Zwigoff, of course. Tiny Farm. By Sophie Crumb. Oh, I wonder if that's Robert Crumb's relation of any sort. Cookie's Chicken scrapbook artist, of course, was Clowes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, painting by R. Crumb. Yeah. Crumb had some work in there.
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys are tight. So.
Oh, yeah. How them nerds do, dude. Robert Lesser.
Sophie Crumb.
Filmmakers would like to thank Robert and Aileen Crumb.
Chip Kidd.
Oh, yeah, Chip Kidd. He's a designer, book designer. Don Knotts. Yeah, Chip Kidd does a lot of cool book design.
Panavision Deluxe.
Kodak.
Kodak.
BTS. Down to suck.
Oh, I heard vagina there.
I heard vagina.
Not so funny now, boy, are you?
What the fuck?
Fuck with me?
What the fuck was that?
Why the hell did they have that? He like jumped up like a dolphin.
Springboard?
Boing. Yeah,
Just a different cut of the scene instead, I'm sure.
All right, so let's get into the film.
That was Jost World.
That was the Jost World. Do you think that was a pretty good like comic to film adaptation, or like kind of
It is
had the heart of it
so,
at least?
It is. Well, it helps that Clowes co-wrote it, right?
Yeah.
But so there are scenes that are, if not like shot for shot, are word for word, or direct referencing certain scenes. Like there's a lot. I curated a bunch of. I went through and found a bunch of the stuff, which I can show you guys later. I don't need to do that now. But it's there's one thing. So the book itself of Ghost World doesn't have like a central story to it. It's basically like each installment is just a scene or a circumstance or whatever that plays out. Like going to the diner and seeing the Satanists, or going to the 50s diner, or going to the sex shop, or like each one of those is its own thing, right? The whole bit, the story with Enid and Seymour is not a thing in the comic at all. There's two characters that are assumedly what the Seymour character is based off of. There's this dude who looks like Don Knotts that they see at this diner, the normal diner that they went to. And they also prank called the guy, and then they don't see him for like the rest until the very end of the book. And he kind of visually resembles Seymour a little bit. And then there's the guy who they do the prank call to for the personal ad thing, who is just there for that sequence, for that installment, right? He shows up, she doesn't show up. He is kind of glaring at them because I think they probably give away that they're kind of the ones, right? They're kind of looking at him and probably giggling, whatever. And then he leaves and says something angry to him through a window. So that whole bit that whole central thing with Seymour is not in the book at all.
Uh-huh.
The book itself is more like the stuff when it's just Enid and Becky, you know,
Sure.
when it's just them hanging out, like the TV bits, right, where there's a bunch of times where they're sitting watching TV and it's this weird whatever, like that's a huge thing through the book. Like the creepy comedian, like that's from one of the first installments.
Okay.
Like all that stuff. So it's a lot of and like where there was this kind of like you could see the cracks starting to form in their friendship, and then it kind of
is that a big central point? Like they're friends that kind of comment on things around them, but then like they drift apart.
And Enid is definitely the overwhelming personality in that pair, right? Just like she is in this.
Okay.
You in the book, it's not towards kind of the end. Becky freaks out on her, gets pissed at her, and is just like, and then that's kind of her wake up call that she's kind of being shitty. Like it's something you don't necessarily notice until Becky kind of freaks out on her, and then you're like, oh yeah. And then it leads to this dissolution. Part of it is in the book she gets her dad gets her a test or whatever to get into this good college, and like she drops it on Becky just like a little bit before she has to take the test, so Becky doesn't know that she was going to do this, so that means she would just leave, and they had this plan, and Becky's the one who feels like she's going to be the one left behind, and like that forms like a big part of the schism between the two. Like the whole her flunking art and having to take it in the summer, like that's also not a thing in the book. That's an addition to the movie. In the end, it's like their friendship breaks up. I don't remember if Enid ends up going to college or not, but there's like because she does bring up the thing to Becky where she's had the fantasy of just, you know, picking up and disappearing one night, you know, nobody knows. And like they drift apart. Josh is more of a thing in the book where like Enid is attracted to him, and Becky doesn't think he likes her. Like he'd obviously like Enid, and like him and Enid almost bang at one point, but then they don't. And when she's having it's kind of similar to the meltdown Seymour bang in this. Okay. You know?
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to that. And then she leaves, and then Becky ends up dating Josh, and that is like a weird thing for her. And then like eventually the end of the book, it's seemingly a time jump because they look a little older. And like Enid walks by a cafe or whatever, and Becky and Josh are in there eating or something. And Enid makes some comment of like, oh, she's you know, God, so pretty or whatever, some shit. And then she hops on the bus and fucks off. That's how the book ends. So it's like they did a good job of where this didn't have a central like push towards the narrative, where it is just these moments that are happening throughout their summer after high school. In the book, they added those storylines of Seymour and the art school thing and all that shit in to help give it a kind of a narrative push that wasn't there otherwise.
I got that.
Yeah.
So you've read the Ghost World?
Yeah, I just read it again last night.
Okay. What is
which helps?
What's the Ghost World? Like, what is it? Just like a series of things,
I'm trying to remember.
Is it just
exactly
these two girls,
or
is it like a?
So in the comic Ghost World, like there's it's graffiti that keeps popping up around town. Someone keeps tagging Ghost World, and like Enid, I think, almost catches the dude at the very end. but like I think can't remember exactly. This might just be me talking out my ass, but like I think it's something like where it's like it's kind of like you're living in a ghost world where it's just like the same thing every day. Everyone's got this routine. Everyone's moving through the world, same over and over again, like ghosts. I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but because even that doesn't like they don't outright explain that in the book either, you know. But I think that's what it is. Like I said, I could be completely wrong, but there's a video I watched not too long ago of a comic YouTube thing that I watch all the time where they were talking about this book specifically.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they brought up. I don't remember.
So,
they did a good job too, I will say, in the character design and like and costuming. Is a lot of people, if they weren't outright characters from the book, they looked like Dan Clowes characters, like these weird fucking like just abnormal kind of surreal looking people with just weird like hair and facial features and like all the like it fit his aesthetic really well, which was cool.
I just want to real quick say that the last movie we watched was Under the Silver Lake, and it had a character in it that was like a conspiracy theorist kind of weirdo, and he is a video clerk in this. And if you blink and you miss it, Aberman from Mighty Ducks is in it too at the video store.
Yeah, yep.
I had to look it up. I was like, that looks like Aberman from fucking Mighty Ducks, and it was without glasses.
Did not even see
that. The dude who played the one camp counselor from Heavyweights and was Frasier's boss on Frasier for a while. He was in there. Mm-hmm. Gave a righteous toot at one point.
He's a tutor.
Fucking soundboard. I didn't see any movement. I didn't see anything happen that would have indicated that he just farted, but it just came out of nowhere, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect.
I don't think I bought their friendship a whole lot, ScarJo and Thora Birch.
That is kind of true to the book too, where they were
just so just around each other. Like I knew from the get-go that these people were destined to drift apart because they were like completely combative in every interaction. Like, don't shut up, don't say that.
It's a friendship made out of being the only two kind of
cynics,
weird people, cynical people in their school, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't ever going to be a friendship that lasted forever. You know, you can tell that right away.
You can tell that Enid is like the instigator, where she's the one being like, we should do this, and ScarJo's just like, yeah, we should.
Yeah, we should. Let's do it. That sounds like fun.
Let's do it.
Enid's always like, she's not like necessarily playing pranks, but she's always just like trying to fuck with stuff. Like,
that's she's kind of the problem, the troublemaker. Everyone kind of that deals with her ends up falling in her wake. Essentially, it's I'm just gonna drop in some of the pages that are referenced here, just so you guys can see. You don't need to put these up. This is just for your own edification. But it's it was never going to be a thing for Enid that was ever, like I said, ever going to end well, really.
She needed to get out of town.
Yeah.
Like to grow as a person. She can't stay there.
Yeah.
Her dad was about to marry somebody she hates, so I mean, she didn't want to stick around there. She's drifting apart from her friend.
It's her dad's third wife.
Yikes.
Yeah. So just to run through quick what we got here that I'm showing you. There's the page with the weird comedian. There's the page with the weird guy that would give him that gave her the tape of the diner. That was really fucking weird. You have them meeting what's her fucking, the girl that goes to the acting school or whatever. The Satanists. that Satanist page also has the Don Knotts looking motherfucker on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's them going to that diner in the strip mall, and you see Weird Al there.
Yeah, Weird Al's there. Crazy. It looks
Weird Al. I love Weird Al.
There's the page where they're sitting there with Josh, and you see the guy that they prank called come in. There's them looking through the photo book, where she comes across her dad's third wife and talks about how she's what a fucking monster. Like, that's straight out of The Thing.
Oh, they write the note for Josh?
Yep. And Enid's saying,
Yeah.
oh, cute, look at me. And then fucking Becky says, what a little hose bag. Like, that's in there.
Leg.
There's when you see Norman in there. In there, though, she doesn't ask his name. Yep. She doesn't ask his name. There's just a piece of concrete, and someone has, like, written Norman in there a million times. So that's why she calls him Norman. Yeah, them writing the letter to Josh. Going to the sex shop.
Yard sale.
Xenophobia, the zine site. Yeah. Yard sale. Yeah, the yard sale. So you can see, like, they do pull quite a bit from it. There's a scene of her crying in her bed and telling her dad it's just a weird hormonal thing. So there's a lot pulled just directly from it. This one's fun. This is just the shot of that horse drawing from like a Velvet Glove cast iron.
Okay,
so,
that's pretty close.
Yeah, that's just an Easter egg because it's just a headshot of a horse, right? So yeah, and then like I said, there's Easter eggs in there like that were things referencing like that horse drawing from Velvet Glove cast iron. There's the little kid record she puts on, which is a thing that she does a focus of an installment. There's her drawing of Don Knotts, which is, reference to that.
Does she do anything with the
dude that looks like Don Knotts?
Cook's chicken? Because I really like that aspect of it.
Nope. Original to the movie. That anything involving the art school or Seymour is all original to the movie.
I like that addition. It was kind of interesting.
Everything else surrounding it is stuff straight out of the book. In some of the instances, like the sex shop thing, is just plugging Seymour in instead of her going there with Josh in the book.
Okay.
So it's all that stuff is new for the movie,
But you said
but
that
it still
the
feels
author of this comic had a hand in writing the screenplay, right?
He co-wrote it. Yep, he co-wrote it with the director.
It's pretty.
So it's from him, yeah.
It's pretty clear that he had a very good idea of like how to tie these kind of separate stories into one narrative or one like timeline that would work, while also incorporating like, oh, let's make an amalgamation character, introduce a couple new things to give like space for that new part of the story, that new character to like play out and have everything work.
And what can we use from the story that we can just plug him into, or what parts of,
aesthetically it seems like it worked really well, like you said, just with like all the costumes and the set design. And
yeah, man, the punk rock thing scene happened, like when she dyes her hair green and has the jacket. In the book, she like cuts her hair too, so it's like shorter and like a more. I mean, it's not colored in the book, but it's stated to be more of like a vibrant green. Okay. But she has that conversation, like when she's in. I think in the movie she's in Xenophobia, the bookstore, and that weird dude that gives her the videotape is working there, and he's the one that talks to her and tells her that is like, what I want to do is what you should do is work from the inside and whatever, and make a bunch of money and work from the inside to destabilize the corporate whatever. Where in the book, it's some dude they come across in the street and they talk to him, and it's this guy, I forget his first name, but like his nom de art is fucking something ape shit, and he used to be like a singer in a punk band. But when they see him, he's all cleaned up and like whatever, and he's just like, no, see, what the real punk rock thing is going to work for these corporate guys, making a bunch of money off of them and tearing it down from the inside. And then like it's that same thing as she tells her later in a scene, then the same thing she says there, where it's like this isn't like modern punk. Like, this is like a classic original punk look. Whatever, is her saying it to Becky in her room later that night.
Okay.
In the book, so it's like, yeah, they do a cool. It helps that I knew it would help if I read it again right before.
Yeah, I mean, I want to read.
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff. Like I said, it is, since it's all installments. And no central like story push outside of like Enid's behavior getting weird sometimes, and that end thing. It's more kind of, a day in the life situations of these two cynical,
hose bags,
teenage girls. Yeah, and yeah, and it is like I said, the interactions between the two, when it's just like them talking or whatever, is exactly how the book is. So.
Yeah, I can imagine myself really liking this.
Yeah.
When I was like their age, probably like 16,
Mm-hmm.
17, like getting into punk, when you do.
Yep.
I mean, I still enjoy listening to some punk, but nothing like I don't know, the stuff that they were going to like a local show and things like that. Where
yeah, it was, at the time too, a lot of people were just like, it's amazing how like a 30-something-year-old dude or whatever can write pitch perfect, cynical 90s high school girls.
I mean, I'm sure still girls go through this nowadays in the same way. It's just context is different.
Yeah,
like, the things that they're interested in. And there's still like sad people like Steve Buscemi's character that are hopeless romantics and like Well Actually and just can't do anything right.
Yep. And yeah.
There were some times where I got weird, like it was weird where it was like it felt like the world around them was this strange, like you said, like surreal existence that kind of reminded me of something like Eraserhead.
Okay.
Right.
Like the beginning scene of him like walking home from work in that weird factory world, and then like going over to his girlfriend's house for dinner and stuff, and it all feels very surreal, and like the world itself almost feels oppressive or like so detached from reality.
Right.
Yeah.
And there were a few moments in this where I felt this almost the same thing, like, or like shades of that, where I was like, wow, this is like, why do I feel like weird or like there's danger when there's clearly not? There's something weird about it.
I like that.
It's the Clowesness of it. That dude, he instills that in a lot of his work, where it's weird, surreal, uneasy, something that's like it's close enough to reality, but like there's some weird ass shit where you're just like, what the fuck? Like he's really good at that.
I get the oppressiveness of what you were saying, like when it was really oppressive at the beginning, where they were showing some kind of like establishing shots of this town, nondescript ghost world town, where it had just like Chevron, McDonald's, KFC, like it had a ton of signage.
Even their graduation, I don't know if you noticed, but their graduation was sponsored by like
Dunkin' Donuts
and like Dunkin' Donuts.
They
and,
all,
like,
everybody had these really blank stares. Like it wasn't even just like, this is my passive face. It looked like every single person was actively trying to be like a little bit like suppressed or like in a trance or something. And then like the one moment that really stood out to me of that weird feeling was when they followed the Satanists.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Once they got out of the diner and they were just walking around, like, how do we get so far behind them? And the places they were going to, it was like, this feels weird for some reason. I liked it.
Which is that is a scene too, or an installment where they follow the Satanists, but there's more to it, where like they follow them into like a grocery store, and then they're like trying to figure out, what they're buying, and eventually like the Satanists kind of recur throughout, and they're like, well, we haven't seen the Satanists in a long time, and then towards the end they run across the female Satanist, and she's talking to someone at a movie theater. It's like one of those classic box offices where it's like kind of partially outside, and you go up, walk up to get a ticket, and she's talking to the ticket person, and she's talking about how she she hasn't seen him in a long time. He moved down to Florida or some shit and whatever. So like they even have a continued or a through line story throughout it, a little bit. It's not a central focus, but it's just something you come back, like Norman. Norman's a thing where you see him once or twice and then it comes back.
And he has a payoff
too.
I like how he has a payoff too. That was really good.
Yeah.
And in the book, it's just one day he's not there, and like they had reactivated the. You don't see him leave; he's just gone. In that Norman scene too, I think
this world could fit in the Repo Man world too, pretty well.
It does. Yeah, it does feel like that.
Where corporations everything's like labeled weird. Like I can imagine something would exist in Ghost World where it's cereal, beer, it just those crappy labels.
The page that I posted where they're at Xenophobia, and they're leaving. It also has the pants there too. They're like, the pants that they randomly saw on the street.
Repo Man was set in Los Angeles, correct?
Yeah.
So this feels like that same world. So maybe this is just like, I don't know, Michigan or somewhere else in the country in that same world.
I forget what I think they say what the town is in the book. I don't remember though, but yeah.
One thing that I can say about the comic, just seeing these things that you're posting, is I like the art style, and it is expressive in a way that I feel like you could take almost any of these pages and just remove all the dialogue and just hang that up, and it still evokes quite a bit where you can get enough out of it, and it's really nice art to look at.
It's one of the benefits of having a writer artist, right, where they do both. Yeah. Because they are usually, a lot of the times, are adept in the storytelling. It's a sign of a good comic artist, period, is if you can draw the thing and not have any dialogue and you can still follow the story. Like, because that's how a lot of, like, the comic dudes who got manga early in the U.S. in, like, the 70s and, like, early 80s, before it became something that came here or was translated, they just got it as it is, untranslated. And a lot of them could follow the story because the art was done in such a way where you can follow it, right? It's a sign of a good sequential artist, is if you can understand the story without the words.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and he's obviously, if you're doing both, you know how to tie the two together, where you can. Because I'm sure a lot of these fuckers, if you're an artist, I'm sure a lot of them will have the idea for it and then kind of rough out what the story is first, like rough out the images and everything, and then they'll figure out, exactly the script of it. Making comics, there's no tried and true formula, Sometimes words come first, sometimes pictures come first.
Yeah,
it's whatever. So I'm sure a lot of the times too, it's just you get the idea and you kind of rough out you have the general idea of what the story is, you draw it out, and then you kind of script it. I'm sure that's partially, potentially what he did. Potentially, I'm not saying for sure because I don't know for sure, but
I in no way mean this as a negative thing, but I think it's nice that it's such a banal story. Like,
that's the point.
There's nothing. Right? Yeah. There's no new concept that you have to grasp. There's no explanation of this organization, this power structure, this anything. It's just like people doing things. Here it is. But it's
day in the life of some cynical teenagers,
fucking up people's lives.
Unique.
It's very unique
from its perspective, from its like voice, like you said, like this is a man of not this age group, or like this is a person he's not writing from his own kind of perspective. Yeah, and that makes it unique in its tone and its message, because I can only imagine what the comic conveys, but the movie itself it's mysterious and it's dour and it's hopeful and it's cynical and a lot of things at the same time, but it's very cohesive in its expression of it.
Yeah, this dude's Dan Clowes is like 60 now. So like when this was written, early mid 90s, 25-ish years ago, he's in his 30s, right? So yeah, but his observational skills, and I think part of it too is just like you said, is like this archetype has existed in every generation. It's just it takes new forms with the context of that era, right?
Yeah.
So like he could just be drawing off of girls he knew when he was younger in 70s, 80s, whatever.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I've never seen like an episode of Daria.
Oh boy, yeah.
But there is some of like visually, some of the art style kind of reminds me of that, and obviously the two main characters like
being cynical, teenage girls talking shit. Yeah,
darker hair, like big glasses, but
yeah,
I get the feeling that there's a lot of crossover in the most base ways between these two like properties or characters.
Yep.
And it just I feel like if I watched Daria, that it wouldn't be I wouldn't expect to get the same thing out of it, but I wouldn't get like as much satisfaction from it because I feel like from what I know about it, the cynicism and the just tone and like what they're trying to do with it is a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like that you don't just get Enid's perspective, you do get some of like Becca's perspective, and like in the comic, and you're talking about Josh being a bigger character. I like that there's like some difference in voice.
Yeah,
that Doug character from the Quick Trip or whatever the heck, the gas station. I love that guy.
I wish that dude. That's one of those things. It's like that dude's straight out of a Clowes comic, but he's not in it at all, which is great.
Woo!
like the whole Josh working at that gas station. That's not a thing, right? it's just Josh, dude. They know from high school, and the mini mall where that 50s diner is kind of far away in the comics, so they need a ride there, and that's why they pester Josh to give him a ride there.
Yeah. But I love that character. He was a great like standout character. He did a lot with nothing.
Yeah. It's great.
I like that's Josh's just boss.
Yeah, that guy.
He pulled a gun at one point. There's a lot of funny.
There's a lot of those people in this movie where it's like, oh, that guy. You know what I mean? It's like people you've seen in so much shit, and some shit you can't like. And a lot of times it's like I can't place where I've seen you, but I've seen you in a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Those character actors that just pop up in a bunch of random shit.
Yeah, like we thought, like, is that Jordan Belfort? Just popping up for no reason. Like, what the hell's Wolf of Wall Street doing here?
I don't remember seeing the name of the credits, but
I didn't pay attention.
That guy looked familiar.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
from somewhere.
Yeah, this was a good choice, Bracho, and I'm glad you got to gush and froth at the gash the whole time.
If people are interested in the source material, it's out there. Ghost World's pretty frequently in print, since it's probably his most popular thing. I'd suggest checking out his other stuff, like I was saying, A Velvet Glove, Cast in Iron, Death Ray, Dan Pussy, like all that stuff. Ice Haven, like it's all really cool. It's all got that unique weirdness about it.
And especially watch more Terry Zwigoff stuff.
Like A Velvet Glove, Cast in Iron. That's a weird ass one. Zwigoff.
Art School Confidential.
Together again.
Art School Confidential.
Which was based off of another 4-pager from 8-Ball. Little insider info. They're going to be doing a softcover reprint of the complete 8-Ball, which is the series this is from. It's issues 1 through 18, all the serialized ones, before the more kind of graphic novel type ones that were the last few issues. So Ghost World's in there, along with all these other ones I was talking. Well, except Death Ray, and all those are in there. And Ice Haven's not in there because that's one of those last ones. But that comes out, I think, August of this year. So I'm definitely going to be picking that up.
Yeah, it sounds like a good one to buy.
Yeah. because I could, like I said, you can buy them separately, right?
Yeah,
you can buy Pussy, and you can buy like a Velvet Glove, Cast Iron, and you can buy Ghost World all separately, but having them within the context of those issues is kind of cool too. So
yeah, I'd probably get the anthology or the combo.
yeah, because that's just it. I'll get that, and then potentially we'll get maybe get Death Ray too, because Death Ray was pretty cool. But
Sorry,
it's all weird and surreal. I was just gonna say it's all weird and surreal stuff like that, where it's like people you've seen, just like the weirdest people you've seen, but they're people you've definitely seen before, and it's all of them populating this world. It's these different worlds. Yeah, it's cool. So definitely go check that out. Read that source material.
Yeah, seems like it's.
What were you gonna say,
cool to
Wilson?
check out. This has nothing to do with. I mean, it is, but it's very tangential. This style of comic reminds me of stuff by Jonan Vasquez. Like Tyler, did you ever read like Squee and kind of stuff back in the day?
I have Z question mark.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was kind of the. He was a like second or third generation alternate comics type dude that came around. I think Jonan Vasquez came not too far from the beginning of when the Zim cartoon came. He was like late 90s. It's kind of when he.
I sometimes peruse
all
my
these dudes
JTHM a few times just to see like if it still holds up.
Gosh.
Sometimes it does.
Sometimes.
He's too edgy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it is just.
I recommend checking out all those kind of first era Fantagraphics dudes, Dan Clowes and Hernandez brothers, fucking Chris Ware, Charles Burns, Pete Bagg, all those dudes. It's really they're similar but different. They all have that kind of unique eye. It manifests in different ways. They all have that really clean line about them.
What about like Harvey Parker? What's his name?
Harvey Picard. He was kind of one of the earlier dudes to do it. He started doing his American Splendor stuff in the 70s. So he was
Picard.
Earlier.
Yeah, okay, Picard.
And he wasn't an artist. He was a writer. So he'd hire artists to do stuff, to do the books, including like Crumb was like one of the earlier ones because they grew up or lived in a similar area in was it like Cleveland or some shit like that.
I think he was on the spectrum. He had autism or some kind of
Picard?
Asperger's.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Because they made a movie about him, and I think
American Splendor.
They touched on that a little bit.
This is random, but this is a shot from Love and Rockets.
I don't know.
Jaime Hernandez. So he's very likes a lot of. You can see there's some romance comics influence there, some all different stuff. But he's another one of those dudes. They're all very unique, and specifically each of those right away in the beginning when I mentioned all of them and their books. Fucking Love and Rockets by the Hernandez brothers, 8 Ball by Dan Clowes, Black Hole by Charles Burns, Hate by Pete Bagg, and Acme Novelty by Chris Ware. Those are all good things to check out if you like this kind of interesting comics.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna give at least Ghost World a peruse, watch or look into some of those, read a issue or two, or something about it.
Yeah. So I think is Wilson next? Wilson the next boy?
Mm-hmm.
I think he is. Did you get any? Did you pick up anything? Just you have to ruminate a little bit about it.
I've got an idea. I probably will ruminate about it a little bit, but I've already got something in mind.
Cool.
It's not gonna if that's what I go with. It's not going to be something that you guys haven't seen, but I think it is a good thread to keep going with.
Awesome. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this discussion of Ghost World, and we'll be back with Wilson's choice, and it'll be a surprise for everybody. Hope you join us then.
Indeed.
And thank you, Broadshow. Thanks, Broadshow, for the awesome
Yeah, thank you, Eric,
choice.
for a recommendation of a fun movie.
No problem. Thanks for joining me.
And goodbye.
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 Mm-hmm.